So, good stuff. Well, look, in today's session, I'm going to reveal how to guarantee a sustainable £1 million practice or more or less. And really, the key is a choice. Some people want to grow £1 million practice, some maybe 500,000, maybe some 250. It doesn't matter. The point is, it's about the choice. But also, I've put there 3-day week. It could be a 2-day week. It could be a 5-day week, not a 7-day week. It's about having the choice. And so in this session, in the next 60 minutes, well, actually not even as much as that, I'm going to be sharing with you 3 steps of a proven blueprint to a successful practice. Now, first of all, what do we mean? And thank you for all the hellos coming into the chat box. What do we mean by this word success? Because actually it means very different things to many different people. Over the past just 6 months since COVID began, I've been delivering some free strategy sessions to accountants across the UK. And I always ask them this question, what success look like for you? And I've had so many different answers. So actually, just in the chat box, and I wanted to warm you up for using it, I'd just like to get a basic idea as to what it means for you. I'm going to share with you just 3 examples here. I'm going to share a starting point and a finish. Now, the starting point is less relevant, really. It's about what you want to achieve, but I just want to share the starting point for context as well. So which aspiration probably most closely matches? It may not be exact, but what most closely matches? So if I was to share example A, we had Phil. He was turning over just 50k in his practice. He'd been at that for 2 or 3 years. He'd hit a glass ceiling. He was completely broke at that as well. He'd actually got an employee. He was working 70+ hours a week. In just 4 years, he turned that around into a £1 million practice and was able to work a 3-day week. Maybe that's the type of thing that you'd like to achieve. It most closely matches the title of this presentation. Paul was another example. Now, when he joined us, he was earning 800k, which sounds really impressive. He'd hit a glass ceiling as well. And actually, he wasn't making a profit. He got over 30 employees, and really just draining the income from the practice. So he himself was actually broke and he was working 70+ hours a week. Now, obviously he turned that around fairly quickly, but just as quickly as Phil did, but then continued an exponential growth curve and continues it to this day. And he only works a 1-day week here. And then we've got example C. Jane was turning over 220k. She was working with over 200 clients. She got 5 team members. Those 5 team members were taking a lot of that income. She was still working 60+ hours. The team weren't stepping up and she wasn't really generating the income she wanted to. Within just 7 months, she completely changed that practice, reduced the turnover, reduced the client base to just 30 high value clients. She hasn't got a team anymore. She never enjoyed having a team. She had such a turnover of team members that parting ways wasn't a difficult task for her. Although she helped them all get another job, she didn't just sack them. She now outsources the compliance work and is just delivering, just as the others do, more in the advisory type of remit to clients for greater fee income. She's working a 3-day week and she's taking a 6-figure income out of that business as well. So just out of curiosity, just put it in the box. A, B, or C, which most closely resembles the kind of practice that you'd like to achieve. And notice that, the number of days a week they're working in there as well. That enables you maybe more of a lifestyle. The income will enable you to have the lifestyle that you want to as well. So I've got A's coming in, C's. Okay, so a bit of a combination between, it looks like A is winning at the moment, but then it was the title of this presentation. So that just gives me a flavour. Now, not all of you have changed from all panelists to all attendees. It's not the end of the world. It just shows other people on here that there's more than just a few on the session, but that's fine. Okay, so I've had 1B as well, so well done. But ultimately, this is just, the point I want to make here is that the strategy I'm going to share with you today is the same strategy, whether you want to achieve any of those 3 or anything in between as well. Okay, now let me just share with you the agenda that we're going to be covering today. First of all, we need to look, it doesn't matter how great the strategy is, if you don't really buy into the need to implement the strategy, it's just another webinar that you've listened to, like another book that you've skimmed through or whatever it is. So really, I want to hone in on why most accountants aren't actually successful and won't be unless they make a change. But I also want to inspire you that you can create your dream practice. I don't care whether you've been at this 2 years, 20 years, 40 years, and you've not achieved the level of success that you want to, it's not too late. You still can do this. I'm going to show you 3 steps of a proven blueprint to the successful practice. But also at the end, I'm going to give you the opportunity to get a free copy of my book, and also to complete, and this is an online thing, it's not a human-to-human thing, an online practice performance assessment that will tell you exactly where your strengths and weaknesses are in your practice, so that when you read my book, maybe you can skip to the bits that are going to help you the most as well. So that's my book, and that's an example of the report that you'll get from that. And then at the very end, as Helen's already said, there's a Q&A. So without further ado, I'm going to crack on. So let's have a look at why most accountants aren't successful and won't be. And really, to fully appreciate this, we need to go back to the beginning. So we're going to have, and for many of you, this will be a flashback moment, and this is your life moment. So I'm sure many of you will remember this. And so let's just start. Now, it starts at the very beginning. You were born, and I've no doubt you're a beautiful little baby. And as you grew up, maybe you used to do things that you don't do anymore. Maybe you used to take more risks than you do now. So you're brilliant in the chat box. Yeah, maybe you used to take risks that maybe you just don't do anymore. Maybe you used to daydream about stuff that you'd love to do when you got older. Maybe you wanted to be an astronaut or a doctor or the Prime Minister, although not a great place to be in right now. And then you went to school where perhaps 99% of those aspirations were extinguished. But still you followed a career in accountancy. Maybe at some point you met the love of your life. And at some point along the way, you must have thought, I would love to own my own accounting business. Now, whether you set up your accountancy practice from scratch, whether you've taken over, you've kind of climbed the ranks, you've come into partnership and now it's left with you, or maybe you're one of many partners. But at the point that you became owner of your practice, you must have decided, right, if this cup here represents my life, I'm going to portion a certain amount of my life to running that practice. But actually, it's my practice. I have the luxury of deciding what hours I'm going to work in my business, and therefore I'm going to allocate a certain amount of time to spend with my family doing the stuff that we really love to do together. I'm going to assign a certain amount of time to spend with my friends, but also on my health, pursuing leisurely activities, maybe hobbies and interests that's going to wind the mind down, also maybe exercise and stuff that's going to look after the body as well. But sadly, over time, that practice has started to dominate more and more of your life at the expense of family, friends, and health. Is this resonating? Just put a yes in the box if this resonates with you so far. Okay. So yeah, okay, so we can relate to this so far. It happens, and you know, I just want to. The reason I say change it to all panelist attendees because I want to confirm here that you're not alone. You know, this happens to a lot of people. Now, some of the reasons here are that accountants often make these mistakes. They don't have a clear strategy for what success looks like and how to get there. They compete on price. They fall into this competitive pricing. You know, this situation that they're in where, well, you know, this accountant's charging me this, can you do it for better? They take on any client, which means you're trying to be all things to all people. You become the bottleneck of your practice. If you get hit by a bus, how long will your practice run without you? Hopefully not dead, but even if you're in a coma for 6 months. They don't look after their number one client. Your number one client is, of course, your accountancy practice. They rely on memory for customer service. So sometimes you wow a customer and then the next time they'll let down because that same wow didn't happen the next time around because maybe you forgot, maybe you were busy. They recruit staff purely based on CV rather than, you know, their values, their beliefs, their attitude and other really important factors. And they allow scope creep to happen and they don't maximize on client potential as well. Now, some of these mistakes, and there are many more, trust me, I just didn't have enough room on the slide for them, they lead to certain consequences. Consequences in time. They eat away at our time. So you're maybe forever in, you know, meeting client demands. You know, they're on the phone, they're wanting this, they're wanting that. Maybe you're in client meetings, whether it's on Zoom, maybe it's on the phone or whatever it is, but you're in client meetings. You're doing the client work or you're double checking the client work to make sure it's to your standard. Maybe your employees are bringing you more problems than solutions, and therefore that's eating a lot of your time up. When your time's taken up this much, you run the risk of making errors. Customer service can often suffer as a result of this. You don't get time to spend working with your best customers. You don't get the time to spend working on your business, and you don't get the chance to keep up to date with the technological advancements and the regulation changes that are certainly happening very often at the moment, aren't they? And that's just time. Also, our income for the business, income personally, is also suffering. Our profits are dwindling when we're competitively pricing. The cash flow, of course, can be affected. Employees, if they are bringing you more problems and solutions, if they're not giving you the return on investment that you'd like, then they are a cost. You know, you've got bills to pay on an ongoing basis. You're competing with cheap accountants out there. You're experiencing fee pressure from clients that are just challenging you on the fees all of the time, and they're, you know, disputing the fees that you give them. You're giving away free advice, and ultimately you feel that you're getting taken for granted. And that leads me on to the last one, which for me is the most important. It's enjoyment. You have to enjoy being in business. If you're not enjoying being in business, what the hell is the point? And yet so many accountants I speak to just say, you know, I'm just not enjoying it anymore. I often feel that my employees don't care, they're leaving. You know, I'm the one that's working 70, 80 hours a week. I'm getting hostility from clients from not turning stuff around. Somebody said to me just yesterday, he says, my clients are giving me a hard time for turning around the accounts late. Have they not realized what's been happening for the past 6 months? And this can put strain on the relationships at home, whether you're working long hours or just your mind is on the business and worrying about stuff and getting stressed. It puts strain on the relationships at home. It can start to feel unfulfilling, unrewarding. You feel like you don't have a life. And even when you get to take the holidays, they're not relaxing. You feel that you're working from the beach. And ultimately, it just looks like this. You are running the daily treadmill. Whether it's 9 to 5, whether it's 6 till 8, whether it's 12-hour days, whatever it might be, you're just not getting anywhere. You're churning out the compliance work and you don't even have the time to really spend analysing that data to see if you can provide insights to your clients. And ultimately, what our "this is your life" book looks like is this. It's just doing the same shit every single day. Forgive my language here, but I need to make the point. And whilst that's happening, guess what's happening to you? You're getting older and older. Maybe you had ambitions about what you'd like to achieve in a couple of years' time when you've really built the practice of your dreams. But actually, day after day, you're getting older. And before you know it, and again, I've spoken to people that have reached this point, you know, they can't even retire because they can't afford to retire because they'll not get what they want for their practice. Now, continuing on this trend of same shit, different day, well, there's a great definition by Einstein about that, isn't it? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results is the definition of insanity. It may be your business, but are you running it like it's a job, or are you running it like a business owner? Job stands for just over broke. Now, what's the actual problem here? Many people think that this is the problem. COVID-19 is the big problem now, but actually, COVID-19 isn't the problem. It's currently raised awareness of the problem, but it's not the problem. It's been the catalyst, if anything else. The problem's been bubbling up to the surface for many years, just like the old fable, you know, the frog that's placed in the pan of cold water that's heated gently doesn't recognize that the changes in its environment are happening around it until it's too late. The real problem is more this. We live in a fast-paced, ever-changing world now, more than ever before, and that will continue to accelerate going forward. And yet most accountants out there are still focused predominantly on producing annual accounts as their core service. Annual accounts for a business owner don't make easy reading. They don't show them how they're doing compared to others in their industry. They don't identify strengths and weaknesses. They don't calculate scope for improvement. They don't support decision making. It's out of date data. They don't even show all of the numbers that really matter to a business owner. They simply meet the needs of HMRC and company's house, not the needs of the clients. And as a result, clients don't really value them very much and therefore don't want to pay very much for them. Focused on producing annual accounts is effectively like just focusing on that rear view mirror in the car. You wouldn't drive your car focused purely on the rear view mirror. You wouldn't drive a business forward purely focused on the rearview mirror, would you, on the historic data? So look, I want to inspire you that you can create your dream practice here, because firms that do things differently get radically different results. Right now, despite COVID-19, there are 5.9 million businesses in the UK. 99.9% of them are SMEs. And, you know, despite COVID-19 and many businesses going under, there are new businesses being born every single day. And even during the last recession, that spiked. It didn't drop, it spiked because people see opportunities that existing businesses don't see. So as much as we're losing some, brand new businesses are being born every single day. What's really sad, though, is that this trend hasn't changed in certainly the 30 years that I've been working with business owners, the last 22 that I've been working specifically with accountants. This trend hasn't changed. 56% of businesses die within the first 5 years. Has COVID-19 affected that? I'm sure it's taken a hit on that, but ultimately that trend will probably continue to go forward as well. And what's even worse for me is that, yes, 56% of businesses die within that first 5 years, but actually the ones that haven't died are doing just this. They are surviving. That's called the business survival rate, isn't it? Not thrival rate, but survival. Many of those business owners are also struggling in the same ways: their time, their income, and their level of happiness. And you can do something about this. Why you? Because I firmly believe that accountancy is a noble profession that can make a profound difference. Not by doing this, but actually by making a fundamental change to the way that they run their practice. This pyramid represents within it 4 labels. Those 4 labels represent the 4 categories of services that accountants can offer to their clients. Compliance speaks for itself. It's your year-end accounts, it's your tax returns, your VAT returns, your payroll, your bookkeeping. All of those things would fall into compliance. The next level up from that is business services. This is management accounts, cash flow forecasting and budgeting. Actually, very few accountants really focus on being even in that area, and yet there's so much potential. And obviously, Futurely spans that area and the next one as well, growth solutions, which is taking all of that data and spending some quality time with your clients, maybe on a monthly basis, maybe on a quarterly basis, and having a strategic input on how they can grow their business as a paid for service, of course. And then finally, wealth strategies, maybe far and few between unless you specialize in these areas, but that's dealing with exit strategies, mergers and acquisitions, maybe even pensions. So they're the 4 levels of services. Now, as I say, most accountants are in this area as their predominant service that they will offer. Now, we have to accept that COVID-19, as I say, this has been a massive catalyst for change. Your clients need you now more than ever before. The funding's going to be ending soon. Maybe they'll extend furlough, maybe they won't, but the funding's going to end at some point. But actually, even the recent changes that came into effect mean that your clients are going to be looking at you more than ever before for help, okay? And really, the best place to be delivering that help is going to be up here, you know, delivering the growth solutions. And be mindful as well that if you're still at that bottom right now, your rivals are certainly making their way up this pyramid. So do you really want to get left behind here? And finally, we have to be mindful that technology is getting better and better all of the time. You know, once upon, just take cash flow forecasting as an example, you know, once upon a time, that was a work of art on a spreadsheet. It was a skill that the accountant would really spend some time crafting this spreadsheet. It was a wonderful piece of work. And now, you know, to a large extent, it's click of a button stuff. You know, I saw Helen demonstrate Futurely, and that's just fantastic stuff. This shouldn't be seen as a threat, but a great opportunity to let the technology do this stuff and move into these better areas where you're delivering some pure value. But actually, if we look at technology, the rate that it's changing is just accelerating all the time. When I first came into this profession, you know, a junior was almost paid full time just to do bank reconciliation. Now we just take that for granted. It's just automatic, isn't it? Bit by bit, not overnight, but bit by bit, technology is chipping away at some of the services that once maybe you charged a lot more for than you can now. What's it going to be like going forward as this accelerates? Now, you might be thinking, yeah, okay, I get that I need to improve my practice. And I will do someday, but someday never comes, does it? You know, if you want to achieve something in 3 years' time, but you're going to improve your practice someday, then guess what? That someday is just not going to come until you've got old, and it's just too late to do anything, isn't it? So when's the best time to improve your practice? Is it anything other on here than one word, which is now? It's not really, is it? Because now, you know, any of these others will never happen. Tomorrow never comes, does it? So look, I want to give you an example here, and I'm going to just tell you know, it doesn't matter where you're at now. Let's say you're earning 75k a partner, maybe a 30k, maybe or 150k, maybe a 500k per partner. Let's go with 250k for the benefit of my example here. If I just want to show what this looks like. If you are currently generating that as an income, but your focus is in compliance, chances are your average fee per client is going to be around maybe the 1200 mark. Maybe that's higher than you're charging now, maybe it's lower, but it's going to be around that area. I'd like to think it's not going to be too much lower than that. For that to pay, you've got to work with around 208 clients to achieve that 250k income per partner. But at the same time, those profits that come from that are going to be diluted because you're going to have quite a few people in your team to help serve 208 clients, which means your life looks like that. Now let's take a look at what if we move into this area. What would that look like? Well, speaking from personal experience, you know, AVN members have access to a wealth of consulting methodologies, for example. Even the lowest level ones, they're charging an average of £500 a month. So that raises, if you include the compliance stuff on there as well, that raises the average fee per client to 7,200 on the minimum level. Then actually you'd only have to work with 35 clients to achieve that 250k per partner. The compliance stuff, yeah, frankly, yes, you could still employ a team of people to do it, or you could outsource that. You know, the world is at your oyster now, isn't it? But actually, by being in this remit, you are making much more of a profound difference to your clients. But also, you're in much more control of your own destiny, your own time, which means you can take those relaxing holidays, you can take more of them. Now, I know what you're thinking right now. You're probably thinking, but Shane, you know, I don't have the clients. I don't have the right clients. I don't live in the right area. I don't have the right team. I don't think I could deliver those types of services to my clients. But look, you know, be assured that we've worked with people from all walks of life, you know, different backgrounds, different starting points, 30k, 50k, startup, 800,000, whatever it is. You know, you've already demonstrated your level of intellect by becoming an accountant in the first place and having your own business. You know, we've worked with so many different people along the way to help them achieve their practice that, you know, I don't care who you are or where you're from, you can do this. All you need is the right strategy in place. Now that list will go on and on and on, so I will attempt to stop it at some point. I have pressed to progress, but hopefully you'll get the point. You know, you're not alone here. There are other people in a similar boat, but actually there's a great amount of people that have come out of that rut that they're stuck in and started to progress. Now the key here is about having a strategy in place, because a vision without a strategy remains an illusion. But even having a strategy is one thing. A strategy without tactics is still the slowest route to success. Now, I said earlier, I believe accountancy is a noble profession that can make a profound difference, and it deserves to get really well rewarded for it as well. Now, still to come, I'm still going to show you those 3 steps to a proven blueprint. I'm going to be doing that just in a moment, and I want to show you how to get those bonuses as well. But first, if you don't mind, I'd just like to introduce myself a little bit more. I recognize some of the names that I can see in front of me right now, so some of you will know me, but also I don't recognize some of the names as well. So just by way of a little bit of an introduction, only a minute or so. Personally, yeah, as Helen's introduced me, my name is Shane Lucas. I'm Managing Director of AVN. But my personal passion is enabling people's ability to make better lifestyle choices. And this is on 3 levels. 1, the brain, because the brain is actually responsible for our ability to make choices, isn't it? Now, if that gets damaged, that can seriously inhibit our ability to make choices over our lifestyle. So I personally do a lot of marathons, Ironmans, certainly fundraising to support brain research charities that help both people recover from brain injury, but also understanding the brain to see how we can help repair it. There are people around the world, the UK included, that don't have the luxury of some of the lifestyle choices that we just take for granted. And so through my business, we're aligned with the United Nations Global Goals, and through a channel called B1G1, we make impacts globally to help people have better lifestyle choices. And close to home, you know, many business owners, and accountants are no exception, feel they have no choice but to keep working an endless amount of hours, to pay the bills, to keep the roof over their head, to serve their clients, to keep them happy. But actually, yeah, there is a better way. Now, I've written a number of books and I've co-authored a number of books that really support that purpose of mine. And the book at the end there is the one that I'm offering for you at the very end of this session. Now, just a very quick insight about AVN as well, if you're not familiar. We are a coaching and training organisation for accountants, where we call ourselves a single community of independent accountants, accountants from around the world. And we take them through our 7-stage signature blueprint. Now that's supported by Reach. I'll expand on what that means in a minute, but this is a bulletproof method to help you achieve your aspirations. I'm going to be sharing the first 3 of that in this session. To date, we've helped over 3,000 accountants, as Helen has said, and through those accountants, we've positively impacted on over 600,000 businesses, and through our alignment to the United Nations Global Goals, we've made over 11 million impacts. We've saved marriages. We've, you know, as a result of that, children exist. We've got the case studies where people have said this to prove it. You know, we've reduced people's blood pressures. We've enabled time on the golf course or whatever it is that's important to them. We've created millionaires. Now, it's not always about the money, but actually money is a huge enabler for the type of lifestyle that you want, or maybe it's the giving impact that's important to you. Having more income enables you to provide much more income to your clients. We've enabled a greater sense of fulfillment for people, and we've changed lives. If you take your traditional accountant's future and take now as a point on this vertical axis, wherever these are, if we take a key at the bottom there, time and effort, I think the traditional accountant's future, the compliance-based accountant's future, is just going to get harder and harder. They're going to have to compete to get more and more clients. They're going to be working more hours if they're in that compliance remit. The income is only going to go down because they're going to be competing with cheap accountants out there. The enjoyment factor is just going to come down as well, but also their ability to make a profound difference. We've all been making a profound difference during COVID-19, but that making a difference factor is probably going to go down as well because people are not valuing the compliance stuff as much as they once did. What we help people do is completely turn that around on its head. So now I'm going to share with you those 3 steps. So hopefully you've got your pen and paper ready, because I've got some actions for you to take away as well. This is my 7-stage roadmap. I'm going to just reveal one at a time here. And really it starts with clarity. Clarity is so important. Okay, so in clarity we help people. Now I'm going to talk through this through the lens of how we help accountants, but ultimately my book that I'm going to offer you at the end talks through all of these in much more detail, and it will cover the 7 stages as well. Clarity is really about starting with the end in mind. Most people, they can't see the wood for the trees. I don't know what success is going to look like. So we help them really ascertain, what does success look like for you? Start with the end in mind. From that, we can reverse engineer that back into a solid strategy on what success looks like for you and how you're going to get there. We'll help you identify what's your ideal client, the type of client that you really love working with and you want to attract more of, so that we can help you put a marketing strategy in place. We'll help you put a value pricing strategy in place so that you are charging much more profitably for your clients. So it's all right building your client base, but if you're not profitable, then what's the point? You're just busy. And of course, we'll help you, as a result of doing that, get your profits and your cash flow sorted out as well. Ultimately, in clarity, we focus on rapid gains, time, money, and fun, making sure it's fun. Now, in terms of starting with the end in mind, you know, everybody we work with gets a coach that they work with, teasing out what does success look like for you, drilling down why is that important, what if this, what if that, etc., just to help you to have this aspiration. Now, the coaching is important as well, and I recommend to every single one of you, if you're not working with a coach, find a coach. You must work with a coach. You know, every single successful entrepreneur out there will tell you that the key to success is working with a great coach, or certainly one of the keys. Now, the right coach, there has to be a values match. Their attitude has to be right for you. They have to have a great reputation. They have to prove that they get consistent results, not just a couple of case studies. They guarantee value or your money back, as far as I'm concerned. That's important. They have to have the business experience, but also acumen. It's all right being in business and failing. What about being in business and succeeding? And they deliver pure coaching skills as well. Now, I talk about this much more in my book as well. So if you want advice on getting a great coach, there's a section in my What's Next for Accountants book that talks about that in more detail as well. Now, the coaching of, you know, ascertaining what your vision is, working backwards, reverse engineering that backwards, you know, we have to, we'll come up with all sorts of ideas, but really, as I say, it needs to be put into some kind of logical flow. Now, don't take notes of this, that's just a contrived action plan. But ultimately, whatever you come up with, you've still got to figure out, how do I make this stuff happen? And so what we do at AVN is we run implementation workshops. You want to know how to have a pricing conversation with a client? We'll help you nail that. You want to know how to deliver much more value to the client in an advisory session? We help you nail that. We do that by running these workshops, and we believe that environment dictates performance. So we get you out of that particular environment, focus purely on working on your business with like-minded peers in the room, hands-on experience and expert training. Because when you run through this and you're doing this in a safe environment, then actually you start to make this stuff happen. You know, the best way to test having a pricing conversation isn't necessarily live with a new prospect, is it? You want to build it with confidence. So again, you know, getting a coach, running through these scenarios is really important. Now, we currently deliver these things on Zoom, but it's proven just to be as effective. I mentioned reach earlier. This is our support mechanism. So our support mechanism really comes in the form of those roadmaps, the 7-stage roadmap, having the right environment that you're working to focus, working on your business. That's very different to the environment to working in your business. Accountability is crucial. You know, having a coach holding you accountable, keeping the momentum going, you know, having nagging rights, etc., is really crucial. Having access to a community of accountants is really important as well that you can tap into. And we firmly believe that it's no longer about B2B and B2C. It's about H2H, human to human. And we're here to help people every step of the way, hand-holding them. Now, typically, by focusing on these aspects in clarity, what people start to see the benefits, certainly in the first 3 months, and this is important to us as a benchmark, is that they tend to raise their gross recurring fee income by around 40%, but most of that is in quick wins around the pricing. And so that goes straight to the bottom line. They're not doing more, they're just charging more appropriately for it. And they're selling the value in what they do. They're improving conversion rates, so they're taking on far more clients for those better fees. They're cross-selling more of their processes to their clients as well. Their cash flow becomes stabilized, their work in progress is reduced, and ultimately, certainly as I say, a benchmark for us is they're generating at least 5 times return on investment on their membership. This is important to us. From a time point of view, they're improving their productivity. They're able to fire some of the really poor quality clients, the type that they don't want to work with anymore, that they don't enjoy working with. Because they've increased their bottom line income, this is a luxury that they can now afford. They've empowered their team to take on and step up more, take on more of the work, or they're outsourcing, and maybe a little bit of both. And, you know, the enjoyment factor increases because they're not getting the hassle, they're getting more time, they're getting better rewarded, and it's much more exciting stuff. So they're much happier. Now, just a couple of examples, you know, Peter Fry here, in 3 months, he increased his revenue by 60%, a 17 times return investment. He reduced the time spent working in the business and managed to spend a whole day working on the business, as well as reducing the overall hours spent. His team are on board with systemizing. He recruited 3 high-value clients that he said he would never have got before. Phil Tarbin here, you know, many of you, if you attend my Thursday sessions, will have heard Phil speak. he also has some great wins within his 3 months and, well, 4 months in his case, and felt absolutely amazing for it. Now, I want to give you an action point to take away here. It's not always the right solution, but for many, they feel that actually I need to take on better businesses, better clients. So I'm going to give you a strategy that is really nice and simple, and it's proven to work. And the strategy here is just think about 10 businesses that you would love to work with that you don't right now. Okay, and then write them down and create a bit of a wanted poster. Now, I've seen many of our members have this in their reception or their conference room. One thing you could also do, especially in this time, is maybe make that the backdrop instead of a bookcase or something else in your virtual background on Zoom. And just say, if you can introduce us to these businesses or businesses like them, then there's a bottle of Dom Perignon or something equivalent for them as a reward. Now, that is a very effective way of generating the right types of introductions to the clients you'd love to work with. Okay, so the next stage in the roadmap is positioning. If you're positioned as a compliance accountant out there, then guess what? That's the type of clients that you're going to attract. You better position yourself and change those perceptions of that stereotype accountant that many people have, then you're going to start to get better quality clients. Okay, so most people have got this kind of image in their head of what an accountant looks like. And you know what? Many accountants don't help themselves either. Now, I can't speak for your personal website, but if you Google accountants in your area and really analyze their websites, chances are they all position themselves in the same way. They'll all say things like, we're accountants and business advisors. We're different, we're proactive, we're forward thinking. And then they'll go on to say, we do payroll, we do bookkeeping, we do accounts, all of those things. And really, they're just representing themselves in the same way. They may have different colors, background, they may have different images, but ultimately they're positioning themselves the same way. Now, when you position yourself in exactly the same way as your rivals, your competitors, then guess what? The only differentiating factor is only ever going to be on price, isn't it? And, this is where you get the phone calls saying how much for a tax return, how much for a set of accounts, how much for this, how much for that. When you differentiate yourself sufficiently from the competition, then actually the only deciding factor becomes value. And if your value proposition meets the needs of your customer, they're going to choose you over your competition despite charging a premium for the services that you provide. Many people say to me, I just can't find the right clients. All my clients are really small, etc. Now, we all fish in the same pond. And, it doesn't matter where you are in the UK, you are still fishing in that same pond. And in the ocean, I've gone from pond to ocean, I'll accept that. But ultimately, there are small fish, there are large fish, there are bottom feeders, there are sharks, you name it. Now, if the types of fish that you are catching are small fish, then you're simply using the wrong bait. It's as simple as that. Your value proposition, the way that you're trying to attract clients is simply not right. Okay? You continue to attract those clients, you're going to work a lot of hours for very little income. It's as simple as that. You change your positioning, you change the bait, you change the way that you are seen by people, then suddenly you can start to attract the big fish. Now, in positioning, and again, I want to emphasize that I talk about this in much more detail in this book, which is why I want to give you a copy at the end, and I mean physically posted out. We help you position yourself as an expert in business. Okay, that positioning is crucial. We help you to establish your vision, your values, and your purpose because these help you to differentiate yourself. I talked about human to human earlier. People want to find out what's the person behind the business like. Are they like me? Have they got similar aspirations to me and values and beliefs? We help you differentiate beyond price. We'll help you become the author of your own book. We'll help you to start to win more awards and achieve accreditations that really set you apart. We help you feature in this book, the Business Owner's Guide to the UK's Best Accountancy Practices. There's a set of standards required to put in place to achieve that, but then that really helps you differentiate yourself. To convert and have better conversations with clients and prospects in a more proactive sense. Many accountants say they're proactive, but actually really don't deliver on that message. And we help you ultimately get better clients. So the typical outcomes here are that you're generating a much better income from your clients. You're delivering higher value services. You're not allowing scope creep either. You are promoting extra work from these clients as well. I'm going to share with you a tip on doing that in a moment. You're also, your time is better spent delivering high value stuff that's low effort, which means actually, you're not having to work as many hours to please these people. And therefore your level of enjoyment continues to go up. Now, I want to give you a positioning action point. I want you to just take a look at your website and just think about how different is it from the competitions. Website is just one example here, by the way, in positioning. When I'm talking about positioning, I'm talking about the way you communicate verbally, emails, all of those things. But the website is obviously one place. So I want you to take a look at it. If you're saying I'm different, don't just say you're different, but demonstrate how you are different. Describe how you're different and why that benefits your clients. And your homework is to come up with 5 unique selling points. If that selling point exists on any other website that you find in your area at least, then it's not unique. And I would suggest your area is probably quite large because people are quite happy to travel or to be on Zoom with their other accountants now. Okay, now the next one, the last one I'm going to share with you today is value. Value is about value-driven growth, how you can improve, grow your practice by delivering pure value to your clients. Now that starts with increasing the value perception. I'll talk about that in a moment. Adding much more value to your core products, adding more value to your clients' businesses by delivering that more strategic input to them, but changing lives behind those businesses as well so that they're not working silly hours for very little income. They have better lifestyle choices themselves. All of this is delivered through marginal gains concepts, little increments, little changes here that you as an accountant have the right skills to be able to deliver. I'm not suggesting suddenly you have to be skilled in steel fabrications or the butcher's industry or the candlestick maker's industry. This is about utilizing your skills with numbers as an accountant. Multiple levels of coaching services that you can offer, ranging from, as I mentioned earlier, the sort of 7,200 fee upwards of 30K as well per client. Now, these are the 3 sort of keys here that we have to work on: increasing the value perception so that perception view is very high, adding value to your core products, but also adding value to the client's business. This really represents the customer journey from being prospect, discovering you for the first time, to being a raving fan. And what we help you do, and again, refer to my book for more help here, is just every single step of the way, and I want you to just take this on board as well. What can you do to really wow somebody at discovery? Keep that wow level really high in lead capture, lead nurturing, the sales meeting, the onboarding, and wow them every single month that you're working with them so they are raving fans and referring you the right kinds of clients. Ultimately, shifting your services from here to here means that you're going to be adding much more value to the client's businesses. Interpreting the numbers for them, using the likes of Futurely to start having more meaningful conversations with your clients. There are other reports that you can produce as well that show them the strengths and weaknesses that they have in their business. Sitting down with them and delivering some of the methodologies, consulting methodologies, sitting down on a coaching platform. One of the things that we help accountants put in place is one of our methodologies called performance measurement and improvement. That's a 9-step methodology. Perhaps you've got your own consulting methodology in place, but that needs to be delivered to them as a packaged service with a value-based fee. Not, well, I'm spending an hour a month with them, so therefore my charge out rate is this, but the value to them, because the more you pay, the more you pay attention. Okay, so if somebody thinks, well, you're only charging X amount, I don't think that's going to be worth my time, I can't imagine I'm going to get the results, then clearly you're not charging enough for that. Okay, so it has to be a value-based fee as well. Okay, so again, going through value, what people are finding is that they're selling better packaged services in the advisory remit, which means that their personal income starts to really go up as well. They're investing more in their team. They're training their team up on delivering this stuff as well, so that they're achieving that more efficient capacity. They've got control over the hours that they're working, and what they're doing is much more fulfilling than ever before, and they're having much more powerful conversations. Now, your action point that I want you to take away from this session, I mentioned earlier a couple of things. One, I mentioned scope creep. Now, you need to get a handle on that, and that's spotting the opportunity to say, look, that wasn't in the original conversation here. But also, one of the reasons why clients move accountants is because they move to another accountant that was offering a service they didn't think their existing accountant did for them, largely because they haven't had the conversation. So what I want you to do is just think about and create this kind of grid, whether it's on a big whiteboard in your office, and then just think about all the possible services that you could offer to clients, and then list out your clients. And then next time you're with a client, maybe just pick 3 off there and just say, by the way, did you know that we did this? Maybe it's a debt collection service. Did you know that we did debt collection service for you? The benefits of us doing this for you rather than you is that obviously, you've got your job to be doing, the service that you do. If you're sat on the phones chasing debt, then you're not earning the income that you could be. We could do that for you. We've got a great success rate, etc. So you tell them about it. Now, if they buy that, then great. You'll give them an S on there. If they decide, actually, it's not for me right now, but thank you for letting me know, then you mark it as a T. You mark it as an S if you've sold it. And then you can track to make sure that you've served your clients in the best possible way by letting them know about other ways that you can help them. Okay, so that would be the exercise to take away from here. So 2 outcomes here. A, your client feels that you're being proactive because you're talking about other ways that you could help them that they didn't know about. And also, of course, that leads to extra work and income for you as well. What we tend to see very quickly actually in this journey, but certainly by the time that people have gone through value, is that this starts to get more back into this. In fact, it has achieved that, but people have got much more time on their hands than ever before. They're generating a better income than ever before, and they are much happier than they ever were. Now, obviously, at some point in that, they will achieve another level of maximum capacity. Now, that might be that they've quadrupled their personal income or whatever it might be, but it begs the question, do I want to continue to grow? And if so, what do I need to do? And that's where the other stages of the roadmap come in. Now, obviously in this session, I don't have time to talk about that. There's plenty of stuff that you could focus on with those actions that I've given you there, and the concept of getting clarity, positioning, and delivering much more value. And it has to be in that order. I remember in the early days, people used to say, oh, my clients aren't taking this business advisory stuff from me. No, that's because you're positioned as a complaints accountant. And so you need to get the positioning right. So let me just ask you in the chat box, and I'm drawing to the end of this session now. Do you see how what I've just explained can help you achieve your dream practice and lifestyle? Just give me a yes or a no in the chat box, be honest. Okay, good stuff. Brilliant stuff. Okay, so look, I said a couple of bonuses at the very beginning. This book shares with you everything I've just discussed and oodles more. It will share with you the full 7 stages so that you can take this book and start to take the actions from it and start to implement this stuff in your practice. And the practice assessment is just an online tool. You can go onto it, it'll ask you a series of questions, and it will tell you where in your practice your strengths and weaknesses are. You don't necessarily need to be focusing on where your strengths are. That's great. Let's let that sleeping dog lie for now. Let's focus on improving some of the other elements. Now, there's just one link to do that, and I'm just going to copy it into the chat box, and then I'm going to hand back to Helen. So look in the chat box now. My recommendation is copy this link or click on the link to open it up in the background, because otherwise, as soon as this session's ended, that link will vanish. It's a very simple link. The PEIP stands for Putting Excellence into Practice. But if you go in there, what you'll be able to do is then get the book, and it will also take you through to taking you to do that practice assessment as well. Now, from Monday, that practice assessment is going to disappear from that link, because we're changing the way that works. So my recommendation is do it straight away. Okay, that's me done. Over to you, Helen.
Jane, that was superb. Thank you so much for your time. Very clear and concise, and just immediate takeaways. For all those recording, I've had so many requests for the recording of this. For those that have just watched that on the recording, I will see if I can arm twist a link out of Shane for anybody who didn't attend the webinar but would like a copy of the book. So I've asked him publicly in front of you all, so you've seen it. So I'll see what I can muster after this, and I will send it out with the email. This session will be recorded. I know loads of you have sent me PMs to ask me. It is going to be recorded. It'll be in your inbox in the next hour or so. But on that note, we are drawing to a close. Hectic times ahead, but hopefully you've got some core takeaways to help you get through it. So thank you so much, Shane. Really appreciate your time. Thank you everybody else for joining us today. Go on and enjoy your Wednesdays.
Good stuff. All right. Thank you, everybody. All the best. Bye-bye.